Hey guys, what's going on? Darren here, and welcome back to the channel. Recently, F1 just crossed the midway point of the season, and we're very quickly coming up to the mid-season shutdown break for the season after the Hungarian Grand Prix. And because of this, I've decided to do something a little bit different to my usual content. Today, I'm going to be ranking my top 5 worst drivers so far this season. Now, this is not necessarily based off of previous seasons, and it is pretty much based on their 22 campaign. However, I will be including a little bit of their history if it is required. And for me, this is a list of drivers who just haven't really been performing, and in some cases, they're being dominated by their teammates. I hope you guys enjoy this video, as like I said, it's something a little bit different to what I do. So, as always, please do, of course, comment, leave a like, and if you haven't already, of course, subscribe to my channel for more F1 content. Now, let's get to the video. And I gotta be honest, I've found this to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. For me, there's so far been 3 standout drivers who have definitely been worse than their teammates, but we'll get to that a little bit later. It's actually been these other 2 drivers that I found a little bit difficult to place, and I don't really know if they're necessarily the 2 that I would consistently go with as being in this bottom 5 list, but for this video, it's who I have gone for. But yeah, it could genuinely be like a couple other drivers as well, because this season it's been crazy. There's been so many drivers who've done very, very well and had some great performances, so please don't take these too offensively. I know how sometimes you can, but please don't. So, in 5th place, I've actually put Yuki Tsunoda. Now, like I said, this is one of the difficult ones that I had to pick, and I've gone for Yuki Tsunoda. Now, Yuki's not been particularly poor this season, which is why it's been difficult. Actually, for me, he's been a lot better this season in compared to his 22 campaign. However, I feel like there has been a lot of very strong performances by other drivers this season, and Yuki for me has only been okay. I can't really think of any race so far this season where Yuki has been a standout wow driver. So unfortunately, because of that, he has made this list. However, with that being said, I have seen him continuing to improve each race, and each race he is getting better and better. Currently this season, he is behind his teammate in the qualifying head-to-head against Pierre Gasly, as Gasly has outqualified him 8 times to 4. However, in the races itself, they're actually 5 to 5, which means to me that Gasly hasn't been as strong as Tsunoda in the races, so Tsunoda has done very well, it has to be said. In the points, Tsunoda does though have less points than his teammate Pierre Gasly, as Gasly has 16 points to Yuki Tsunoda, who only has 11 points. So, as things stand, yes, Yuki Tsunoda is currently in my bottom 5. However, if he does continue to improve, then I think by the end of the season he could very easily find himself out of my bottom 5 worst drivers. So now to 4th place, and in 4th place, I've actually gone for his teammate Pierre Gasly. Now, I know what you might be thinking, why is Gasly ranked worse than Tsunoda despite the fact I've literally just said in qualifying and in the points paying positions, Gasly's done better than Yuki Tsunoda. And to that I say, you're absolutely correct. He has been in some instances a lot better than Yuki Tsunoda. However, for me, it's just not been very impressive for Pierre Gasly this season versus his previous seasons when he was in the AlphaTauri or the Toro Rosso. And also you have to remember, Pierre Gasly's been in Formula 1 since 2017 versus Yuki Tsunoda, who only joined the sport last season. So, in theory, Gasly should still be ahead of his teammates, as Tsunoda, albeit he should now be fully up to speed, is just not there with Pierre Gasly. Gasly so far this season has had one fantastic performance, and I will give him that, and that was in Baku, where he finished an excellent P5. However, other than that, for me, his results have been fairly lackluster compared to what he can achieve and he has achieved in the past. For me, I don't know if it's a case of AlphaTauri is a worse car this year, or it's just that 2 drivers are not extracting the full potential of that car, because last season Gasly was able to extract a hell of a lot more than Tsunoda, and this year I'm not sure he's extracting just as much from the car as he used to be able to. Hopefully, as AlphaTauri continues to move forward this season, I hope that Gasly can improve further, and hopefully by the end of this season, he will be outside of my bottom 5 for this season. Now we get to the bottom 3 for this season, and for me personally, these 3 drivers have been clearly the 3 worst drivers this season, and it is a shame really. I do hope that the second half for these 3 drivers can be more fruitful for them, but we shall see, because I've not got a lot of confidence for them, if I'm completely honest. And that is a huge shame. It really, really is. So, in third place for me is Daniel Ricciardo. And you know what? I just don't understand why. I don't understand what is happening to Daniel Ricciardo in McLaren, but something for the Aussie is just not clicking for him like it did in the Renault days and more definitely in the Red Bull days. In Renault, he was a clear number 1 and performing very well against Hülkenberg and Esteban Ocon. He was beating them quite consistently. In Red Bull, he went toe-to-toe with Sebastian Vettel and defeated Vettel, and this you've got to remember is when Vettel was just coming off his 4 World Championship title wins. So Vettel was riding a huge wave of momentum, and Ricciardo was able to beat him. And also, he was able to hold his own against Max Verstappen. However, in McLaren, it's just not working for him. In qualifying so far this season against his teammate Lando Norris, Ricciardo is losing the battle 10-2, and in the races, he's not really faring much better either, as he's losing 8-3. And for me, it just doesn't look like this form is going to change anytime soon. You've got to remember, it's also not just a 2022 thing either, because he was being beaten fairly consistently by Lando Norris last season in 2021 as well. I really do just hope that the Aussie can find some pace soon, because McLaren does have other options waiting in the wing in the form of drivers from America such as Pato O'Ward and Colton Herta. Ricciardo, he does need to perform, and for me, he's had one performance so far this season where he finished where you feel like a McLaren should finish. Not in a position where he's absolutely outperformed the car, but he's finished where he should finish. And that was in Australia when he finished P6. But other than that, it's been a truly difficult time for the lovable Aussie. Now we get to P2, and to be honest, this may not be a huge surprise to literally any of you. In second place for me for the worst driver so far this season is Lance Stroll. Lance, as we know, only really got into F1 and really has only been able to keep his seat due to the money that the Stroll family does bring into the sport. And of course, it does help that his father Lawrence Stroll has been able to buy Force India and turn it into Aston Martin, essentially keeping that seat very secure for Lance Stroll. But so far this season, Lance Stroll, he has been beaten fairly consistently and convincingly by his teammate Sebastian Vettel in qualifying, despite the fact that Vettel, for me, is now winding down his F1 career. And usually when drivers do start to wind down their career, you do start to see their performance ever so slightly dip. And Vettel's performances have been dipping a little bit, but still, even with that, he's fairly consistently beating Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll has not been able to match the 4 times F1 champion over one lap. And in the race, it looks like Lance has actually performed a little bit closer to Sebastian when you take a look at the raw figures in the finishing positions, which can be seen by the fact that Vettel has only outraced Lance 5 times to 4. So that's pretty close, right? Well, that's not really the case, because in 2 of those 4 where Lance has beaten Vettel, it's been because Sebastian Vettel has retired from the race. And also, one of the other 2 is because of Austria, in which Vettel was hit by Gasly. So, overall, Lance Stroll for me has been very, very poor this season. And to me, his pace this season has been even worse than in previous seasons. He's very often out in Q1, even when Seb has managed to get that Aston Martin, which admittedly is a slow car, through to Q2. Stroll's been nowhere near being able to do that. And points-wise, Lance Stroll only has 3 points to Sebastian Vettel, who's on 15 points. And sadly, even if Lance Stroll gets upgrades before Vettel, I still don't see Lance Stroll closing that gap to the 4 times world champion. And finally, we get to the worst driver so far in F1 in 2022, and yep, you probably guessed it. It is the Nutella icon himself, the weapon of mass destruction from my reverse racers, the one, the only, Nicholas Latifi. Yes, Nicholas Latifi for me has been the worst driver so far in 2022, and let's be honest, it's not even close to the next worst driver. He is still the only full-time driver who's yet to score points. In qualifying, he's been absolutely dominated by his teammate Alexander Albon, 10-1. Okay, I admit in that one where Latifi did beat his teammate Albon, he did get into Q3 at Silverstone, and that was pretty goddamn epic. But other than that, yeah, Latifi's been absolutely battered by his teammate Alex Albon in qualifying. At times, it feels like Latifi has been slower than a HRT with only 2 wheels. During the races themselves, I'm yet to see anything impressive from him, other than him very quickly falling off the back of the pack, which I've got to say it is pretty impressive how quickly he sometimes does. Honestly, I can't see any way that Nicholas Latifi remains in F1 beyond this season, especially when there are drivers like Piastri, De Vries, and Théo Pourchaire all waiting in the wings to take his seat. Will he improve in the second half? Honestly, I highly doubt it, but you never know. Anything can happen in Formula 1, as Murray Walker used to say, and it usually does. So, that's my list. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about my list? And what is your list for the 5 worst drivers? Who do you think has been performing the worst out of everyone so far this season? Please do drop a comment down below. Let me know. I do read every single comment. I do try and respond to every comment as well. So yeah, down below, let me know. Do you agree or do you disagree? And of course, as always, comment, leave a like, and if you haven't already, of course, subscribe to the channel for more F1 content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.